to call our meeting here to order this evening. We are at the Monday, October 28th, 2013 for tonight's meeting. And Mr. Adams, good? Do we just start with wherever you want to start, or
you do roll call?
Or roll call? Oh.
Okay, Barnett, Chaplin,
Yep.
Van Lente,
Here.
Smith,
Here.
Peterson,
Here.
Schichtel,
Yes.
Gregg, here, Finn,
Here.
Hudson.
Here.
There is a quorum.
Wonderful. Thank you, sir. At this time, we'll do the pledge, and before I do that, if anyone has a cell phone, please turn it off, please, so we don't goof up our videoer guy. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Oh, I see. I got things out of order. I see. Yeah. Oh, well. We're all here, sir. Okay.
You're fine.
All right. I didn't have my glasses on. That's my excuse. Okay. Having read that and got the roll call out of order, approval of the agenda for this evening, October 28th, 2013.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
Add item 5B. I put a letter on your desk. It's for a grant that we're going after, and I'd like the Planning Commission to hopefully endorse it. The place, plans, grant, and I'll explain it when we get to 5B.
Okay.
If you'll add it.
Good on our end to add item 5B to our this evening's agenda pertaining to place plans program. Say that real fast. Yeah. Well, okay. Sorry. Second. Sorry.
So moved.
Robert, one. Mr. Peterson, seconded.
John?
Mr. Peterson, 1, 2.
Okay.
Followed by Mr. Smith.
Even Jerry doesn't know how to behave sitting down here, does he? He's totally off-centered.
Yes,
To
sir.
approve the agenda for 10/28/2013 with the addition of item 5B regarding the place plans grant. Gregg?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Schichtel?
Yes.
Chaplin?
Yes.
Van Lente?
Yes.
Finn?
Yes.
Peterson?
Yes.
Hudson.
Yes.
Okay.
Next on our agenda this evening is any public comments? Audience? Any public comments pertaining to what's not on this evening's agenda? Or just comments? Okay. We're all good. Now I'd entertain approval of the September 23rd, 2013 meeting minutes. I found no errors.
And I make a motion to approve. I second.
And Lindsay Champlin, first, second.
Motion by Van Lente, supported by Chaplin, to approve the meeting minutes of 9/23/2013. Finn?
Yes.
Chaplin?
Yes.
Schichtel?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Peterson?
Yes.
Van Lente?
Yes.
Gregg? Yes. Hudson.
Yes.
Good.
Should I read the other and then ask for permission?
Sure.
Okay. Next on our agenda this evening, we have a public hearing. The public hearing is to consider a request filed by Ernest Thornton at 617 Selma Street, Cadillac, Michigan, for approval for a special use permit to operate a rental, storage, and warehouse business at 207 East River Street. This is support documents 4A in everyone's packets. Having read that, with the board's permission and staff, I would excuse myself because I own property there at the site that is in question.
Adjacent property.
Button right to it, yep. On North Simons to be precise, so that building is right in my rental's backyard, so as not to have any conflicts. Yes, sir?
Mr. Chair, if the Planning Commission excuses you, we would like to have a motion and a support, because I'll need to take a vote on allowing you to be excused. And if you excuse the chair, I will ask that he comes and sits down in the audience, so there's no misinterpretation that he's participating in the in the meeting, which means, Mr. Fent, I believe you'll have to take over.
See when he calls
And
it.
once this issue is completed, Mr. Fent can come back up and assume the chair again.
Okay. So entertain a motion from someone.
I make the motion of what Jerry said, to let you sit this one out.
Second,
I'll second.
Ben Lindsay?
Ben Lindsay.
Van Lindsay. Okay, motion by Champlin, supported by Van Lindsay to excuse Mr. Putman from participating in this particular item due to the fact that he owns property immediately adjacent to the site. Okay, this is to excuse him for the following, or for that reason. Schichtel?
Yes.
Finn?
You had to get outvoted, but yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Peterson?
Yes.
Van Lindsay?
Yes.
Champlin?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
You wouldn't mind?
Your hand on the gravel when you go.
Mr. Finn, if you wish, I can make the presentation and...
That would be great.
Don't show it at me.
No, sorry, but that's what happens when you miss a
I'm going to
meeting.
stand up just really for the benefit of the microphones, but let me get it back here. It won't go back. Hang on. Mouse isn't going to let me go back. Well, maybe I'll just sit here. Okay, as indicated, this is a special land use application. Has been submitted to the city to operate a storage and warehousing business at 207 East River Street. The applicant, as indicated previously, is Ernest Thornton. Mr. Thornton lives at 617 Selma Street, Cadillac, Michigan. The building itself is owned by Masco Incorporated out of Cedar, Michigan. I believe it's in your packet. We did receive a letter from them indicating their concurrence with Mr. Thornton's filing of this application, so they have knowledge of what's being done here tonight. Hopefully I won't lose my voice. Again, the request is to permit the use of the commercial building, it is a commercial building, at 207 East River Street for indoor storage and warehousing, and the property is zoned R3 one-family residential. And there is a section in the zoning ordinance, 46-745, that does provide for a business use of an existing building in the R3 zone district. Again, as a special land use, it is possible to use an existing building for a business operation, subject to review and approval by the Planning Commission, also subject to a public hearing. Just some basic information about the site and the building, its character. The lot area is defined, first of all, and let me step over here, might get a little easier for a second. Not the greatest aerial photo, but the building is in the site is in the yellow. This is River Street, Wheeler Street, and if you're familiar with this area, this is Save-A-Lot. Is located right almost next door. Parking lot to the north. The site itself is really surrounded by homes. There's a dwelling here, dwellings all along River Street, dwellings here, and dwellings there as well. So just to acclimate just to where it's at. Again, the lot area itself is a little over 23,000 square feet. The building area, the actual building, is give or take about 17,000 square feet. We took this off the GIS aerial, so there may be some difference there, but it occupies, and this is important, the building occupies about 72% of the site, and that becomes critical, as you'll see a little later on. There's about 200 feet of frontage on River Street and about 60 feet on Wheeler Street. Just to the north of the site, there is a public alley. I believe it's a 12-foot wide alley. The lot depth varies. On the west, the lot is about 113 feet, and then as you head towards the east, it increases to about 144 feet. In terms of parking spaces per se, there aren't really any designated parking spaces. But at a minimum, assuming the loading bays were being used, you've got about 3 spaces, maybe 4 parking spaces that you could obtain here or there. It's a metal brick-sided building. It varies depending on the location. It's 2-story. It has 4 loading docks. There are 3 loading areas, but 4 loading docks. It appears like 3 have the potential for possibly being used. The building historically has been vacant for a long time, and so it's received really limited or no maintenance, quite frankly. It does lack a code-compliant fire suppression system. It appears as though, and then this has nothing to do with the current applicant, by the way. It looks as though at some point in time, the fire suppression system portions were removed, scavenged or whatever. Same thing with some of the electrical systems. I'm not saying that. There's a note in your file, I believe, from the city fire marshal, and he has done an inspection, and that's from him. And as indicated, it does have a history of vacancy. This is the alley that's just to the north of the building. That's the north wall of the building, and essentially that's pretty much the property line on the north. This would be to the east, northeast. This is the one loading dock that is apparently no longer being used based on its apparent condition. You potentially could put some parking spaces in here. You would access it from the alley, and you could put 3, maybe 4 vehicles in that location. Again, just another shot of the site and the surrounding area. In terms of neighborhood character, as indicated, the site lies between Wheeler and River Streets. I mentioned the public alley to the north. The site itself is primarily surrounded by homes. Homes to the immediate west, to the immediate south, to the immediate east, and to the northwest. Are all homes. The area zoning with respect to those homes is also zoned R3. This is kind of, it's in between, you might say, those homes. It's zoned R3, as are the homes. The parking lot across the street that's more or less connected with the Save-A-Lot retail center is zone P1, which is a parking designation. There are 10 homes that surround this site, or the site. Based on our records, 5 of those are owner-occupied, and 5 of those are renter-occupied. In other words, they're owned by another party, but are being rented. 5 are individuals who both own the home as well as live in the home. I mentioned the commercial parking lot to the northwest. This is about 440 feet off of Mitchell Street, east of Mitchell. There's Mitchell, the back of the Save-A-Lot, the dollar store. And then you come into basically this site. And again, this is an important factor with respect to this site and the building. In terms of the proximity of the homes to the west and east of the building, based again on our GIS, and we've gone out obviously, as you can see, and taken some photographs, the homes are relatively close, about 12 to 18 feet, again, give or take, and that's based on GIS, but they are relatively close to the building. I'm not going to go over all these, but I think the next 3 slides. There's a series of standards that the Planning Commission uses. These have all been addressed in your packet, and I should, for the record, indicate that you did receive a packet. All of these standards are addressed. Basically, the standards have to do with 2 or 3 items. That is compatibility. Is the proposed use compatible with the neighborhood? And then secondly, what sort of impacts, if any, will the proposed use potentially have on the neighborhood? And that's really what I want to focus on primarily tonight. Again, these are 3 of the standards. I'm not going to go over these. These are just the standards let out of the ordinance. On the one side, in terms of the proposed use, there are some benefits to be gained by having this building utilized. First of all, it makes use of a vacant commercial building, and that's something I believe the Planning Commission, the city in general, is always positive of, or we like, and that is if we have a commercial structure, if we can find some use, that's important. It will add some activity to the building, and hopefully that may result in the potential for some level of maintenance, maybe a high level, don't really know. And it will also require some building code compliance, particularly depending on what's going to be stored there. And they don't have that information, but the applicant is here tonight, so perhaps he can elaborate on that. And also, the building itself is not secured per se. That is, it's not fenced. And in terms of the actual security of the building, locks, what have you, is it easy to get into the building or not? Well, that I don't know, but it's not a secure site like many warehousing types of sites. So if there is somebody occupying or utilizing that building, most likely it will result in some level of security or some level of oversight to protect not only the structure, but very importantly, the contents therein. So just some positive factors. However, there's also a number of compatibility issues or impacts that I believe are also important that you need to think about. And there's some photographs that will reflect some of these in just a second or relate to them. First of all, to get to this site, and it's not too far off Mitchell, but the ingress and egress into and out of the site, it's by commercial vehicles, and in some cases, as you'll see in a minute, large commercial vehicles that are using residential streets. The actual street themselves for maneuvering the trucks as they have to back in and particularly backing in. I talked to the city engineer, Bruce DeWitt, and he indicated that both Wheeler and River Streets are not designated truck routes. Now, they're all season roadways, but they're designated as basically local residential types of streets, not truck routes. On the site itself, there's a lack of on-site circulation area. In other words, there really is no way to, particularly large commercial vehicles, there's no way to move those vehicles on site. So you can't go on the site, for example, with a large semi-tractor trailer and back into the loading dock. You pretty much have to use either Wheeler Street or River Street for that to happen. And one of the things we've noticed is, and again, you're going to see a picture, the use of the public right-of-way, the sidewalks, for the parking of trailers. We noticed, for example, that there was a trailer on the north side that extends over the sidewalks into the public right-of-way. If there is storage of goods and equipment, there may possibly be a need for some advanced security. And as mentioned, there's a lack of a fire suppression system. The concern there is the proximity of the homes. If that structure were to burn, there's a good chance there would be some impact on those homes due to their proximity. It'd be pretty hard not to have an impact. Here, for example, is the semi-tractor trailer. We took this photograph last week. This is on the north side, and you can see that the trailer extends directly over the sidewalk. I can imagine at nighttime, because the lighting here is not too good, but if you're riding a bicycle and not paying any attention, by golly, not only that, but you'd have to walk around. You'd have to go, in some cases, onto the public street. This is not a good situation from a public safety standpoint. Nor is it a good situation from a visually aesthetic standpoint if you happen to be a neighbor. Yes?
Jerry, where's that trailer from?
I don't know.
Because it doesn't belong to the building, right?
I don't know. You'll have to...
If it's a vacant building, then...
I'm
Okay.
saying. The building's being utilized right now.
Oh, it is?
To some degree.
Okay.
Everything's fine. We took and said, okay, let's take both sides. We'll take, for example, a common 53-foot trailer. And the trailer size is vary, not the entire tractor and trailer, but just the trailer. They average about 43 up to about 53 feet. Probably the most common today is about 53 feet. Some are larger depending on what state you're in, but in Michigan. So we just took the GIS maps and said, let's go out 53 feet on both sides of the loading dock, and you'll see whether you're in north or south, in order to put a trailer on either side, of that size at least. And we're not suggesting that all deliveries would be by those size trailers. but in most cases, they extend into the right-of-way over the public sidewalks. There's just not a lot of room, and as you can see, there's no way for those trailers to circulate on the site. For them to back in, you've got to use the public street. There's, again, some safety. We believe in visual impacts of those vehicles parked in a residential setting. We talked about, I haven't talked about, but particularly if you were to extend the length of the parking of those vehicles. If you were a homeowner, for example, across the street, I don't know, being in an R3 residential one-family district, I don't know that you'd necessarily like to see a semi-tractor trailer parked across the street on a regular basis. Hours of operation, and this week we don't know. Is there some noise potential? And again, perhaps the applicant could shed some light on this. And another big issue is there's really no there's no area for snow storage. In the wintertime, if you're going to keep the loading dock areas clear of snow, essentially, other than that one corner that I talked about where perhaps you might put some vehicles for parking, there's really no place to store snow. Extremely limited on this site. And again, we're not sure about the noise. We've got the operation of commercial vehicles in a residential setting. The hours of operation. I've talked about the semi-tractor trailers in the residential setting. I don't need to say any more. In terms of the ordinance is a standard regarding glare, fumes, and so forth. And again, we do have a concern regarding the fire safety. The proximity of a warehouse, a storage facility, this close to homes. This is on the east side, kind of misleading, but it just kind of gives you an idea of the proximity of the east side of the building to the homes, the nearby homes. Here again is the east side, showing the proximity of the home to the building. Essentially is on the lot line, and then on the west side you can see the loading dock. There's a driveway coming in, and then there's the home. So this is relatively close, so no concern. We did put a notice in the newspaper regarding the public hearing tonight. We also notified all property owners within 300 feet. We have not received any communications from anyone. So there is none to present tonight. As the Planning Commission knows, with a special land use, if you were to approve it, you can approve it with conditions. And the purpose of conditions basically are to try to mitigate some of those concerns that we talked about, as well as others that you may be aware of. In terms of tonight's public hearing, for the benefit of the public, we typically go over this at least one time when we have a public hearing. The chair opens the public comment period. That's been done by Chairman Fenn. Essentially, they allowed me to go first. At this point, basically the chair will open it up for additional public comment, asking the applicant if he or she wishes to speak regarding this application, and you may have some questions of the applicant. I don't believe there's anybody else here tonight, so most likely nobody will speak in favor and nobody will be opposed, but that's the order. If there were some folks here talking about it, we would give the applicant another chance to rebut or to respond to those public comments. Once the discussion is all done with respect to the applicant, the chair will close the public hearing, you'll deliberate and make a decision. And your action is based on a finding of compliance with the standards of the ordinance, does it or doesn't it. You will approve the special land use if you believe it does. You can approve the special land use with conditions, or you can deny the special land use based on a finding that it doesn't meet all of the standards. So with that, I believe that's my, let me just kind of pull up one of the slides as we get into, maybe that one. With that, Mr. Chair, I would ask the applicant if he wishes to, if he would give his name and address, even though we know who the gentleman is, and if he would like to address any of the things that were said tonight, as well as answer any questions that you might have.
Do you mind if we directly speak to him? I mean, there's not going to be a rebuttal or anything. He's the only one here. Can we ask our questions at the end of his talk?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sir, your name and your address?
Ernest Thornton, 617 Selma Street, Cadillac, Michigan.
And we'd like you to just speak to what you're going to do with this building.
General storage and warehousing of automotive parts. The one concern about the semi-trailer is we rented this out to somebody, but they were not supposed to park one there, and I've already notified them it's supposed to be got out of there. That was a violation of what we were trying to do anyway. We never intended on semi-trailer getting parked on a lot. They would pull in, unload, and be gone in 10 minutes, whatever's coming in. The fire suppression system, there's not one there now. And, well, as you can see, like with an empty buildings can burn. We'll bring that back to code. The system is in there, and somebody just took all the sprinkler heads out for the salvage or whatever. So there's a couple hundred sprinkler heads got to go back in. But then that system probably works.
Does the wiring have to be up to code?
The wiring it had three-phase wiring and must have been some kind of factory. Somebody went in and about half the wiring in there has been removed salvage. It's my idea, get a commercial electrician to come in and just come in with a new service. Because all we need is basically lights, heat, and we don't need the 440 volt three-phase. Just put a new service in and light it the front half for what you need.
Okay.
Yeah, it's gapped it out. The sprinkler systems and water lines and all that's there, but it's took all the wiring out.
How often are trucks going to be coming and going to that loading dock on the west side?
On the west side?
Well, can you tell me more about the operation that's going to happen there, I guess is really my question.
Our main use of the building will be warehousing automotive parts and shipping them out in small trucks. So most of the stuff coming in is going to be coming in by panel vans and like UPS, stuff like that. Probably we would get 2-3 semi-load deliveries a week that might have 4 or 5 pallets on. So we back up, set out 4 or 5 pallets, and it's gone. It'd be a company like Holland or somebody, not one of our own trucks, just freight delivery company.
Are you going to be a one-shift operation, around-the-clock operation? And that would be from?
Probably from about 7 to 7. About shift and a half, I guess you would call it.
And you said 3 trucks per week estimation?
Yeah, I think that's probably average would be high side.
Those are just the semi-trailers?
Semi-trailers, right.
And then you have UPS and FedEx and...
Yeah, FedEx and mail.
Those would typically be once a day?
Yeah, good share what we ship out is by mail anyway.
I believe the information we were issued stated something like an auto parts store, retail business.
No, we want to put an auto parts warehouse in with a pickup counter, so like a wholesale customer wants to come in and pick something up during hours, they can do it rather than...
If I wanted to buy a car part, I wouldn't come to that building, right?
Normally, no, it's going to be wholesale.
Okay, because I was wondering about parking for retail business.
Oh, no, it's a wholesale operation.
Jerry brought up the fact that you have very limited space for snow, so I assume you're going to have to remove it each time it snows versus leaving the pile.
It could be took to that corner right behind the building there, but yeah, we're already aware of the fact that like you get a lot of snow, dump truck might have somebody come in with a loader and dump truck and haul it out.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to appreciate you fill up that back aisle or back there.
No, not the aisle itself, but there's quite a bit of room. There is about a 20 by 50 space at the loading dock that's not being used.
Would you primarily just use the one loading dock, or would you use them from both River Street and Wheeler Street?
Wheeler Street one, probably Wheeler Street only. The other one, if it was used, would be like for just a small half-ton van or something like that. The one facing River Street is not actually, it's not a dock for a semi-truck. It's got a ramp coming up and it's only got a drop of about 2 foot. The two, they're designed for semi-space, Wheeler Street. And River Street there, there's somebody who does that save a lot, or not save a lot, the dollar store there.
Yeah, Family Dollar parks right there on the intersection there. I know it's a real pain in the morning.
And somebody's coming in to save a lot of stuff, are coming right through that parking lot stuff, right down, through Wheeler Street, right through the parking lot and stuff, so there is curb and truck traffic through there.
What are you going to do with your, I see in our packet here, it says that you'll probably start with nobody, but then have 2 to 3 employees in the future. So with your snow removal conundrum or whatever, if you pack up that corner on the north side of the building, and then you're using, Wheeler Street for semi and delivery, and River Street for UPS, FedEx, half-ton trucks, whatever.
There's a roadway through on the front of that would allow 3 to 4 cars to park on, too, and still be able to use both truck docks either way.
So if you have three employees or 2 to 3 employees parked there, and you have trucks at the loading docks, now you got a couple of wholesalers that come up and want to grab some stuff. What do they do? Where do they park?
Where are they parked at? The parking.
I'm trying to, the object of a business is to grow, so
Right.
my thought is it's going to be,
Parking spots on the front, you can get at trucks both ways. There's 2 docks on the one side, 1 on the other, and with 2 to 3 trucks, somebody coming in a week, there's always going to be at least one of them that's empty all the time.
Right there, Jerry, hold that, please.
The loading docks on the base of River Street, that part there would always be empty too, other than our own use for a vehicle that was going out, so we pulled in with a vehicle and threw some stuff in it, and we went out on a delivery, it'd be gone right away too. It's not I know the parking's bad, but where it's not a high volume as far as in and out.
Jerry?
Yeah, just as a comment, if you're going to designate a loading dock as a loading dock, we aren't going to count it then also as an area for parking, just as a point of information.
right.
It's either got to be parking or a loading dock, because the zoning ordinance will require that the parking locations be specified. It doesn't meet the parking requirement now, but it's a pre-existing situation, so we want to be fair. But, for example, if there are 2 loading docks on the south side, one loading dock on the south side, if it's a loading dock, it's a loading dock. It has to be designated as a loading dock, not parking. Now, that doesn't mean somebody's not going to scoot in there, and park his or her vehicle, but from the standpoint of what we would approve, it's either one or the other, parking or a loading dock. And there really is very little parking on this side. It's parking.
It seems like it's going to be
And
very
that's been one of the reasons,
problematic.
I will say in the past, one of the difficulties with marketing this building, I believe, has been the lack of parking. There just isn't any parking. And you start getting into things like snow storage and so forth, and it just compounds it, particularly, obviously, in the wintertime. It's a tough one. It's a tough one.
Well, they could park across the street in the shopping centers.
It's a private lot.
Oh, it is?
Yeah,
Okay.
private lot. Yeah.
And I believe there's parking on River Street on the north side.
Yeah,
in that
summertime,
block, right?
It's not as much of an issue in the summertime, and the issue is going to be the winter.
In the winter.
When there's the restriction on parking and so forth. And,
Well, that's just overnight parking though.
yeah.
Yeah, but the snowbanks and
Yeah, they River Street,
On the street.
by the end of the winter, I've seen River Street basically a one-lane road because they don't plow far enough to the curb. Or it snows and wet slushy and it freezes and then they don't plow it for a couple of days and then you're stuck with it. So winter time, the congestion there with the that's a concern for me.
Well, we have two loading docks facing one side. We really only ever need one. We'll never have two in there at one time. The lease space there, it's got the roadway that goes through in front of it. It can all be used for parking. The snow can be took back behind the building if it has to be hauled out. You know, if we got no place to do, put snow, I guess, that's our responsibility. There's somebody coming up with a dump truck and take out one of the banks. So you can fill it back in again. I've seen some, bright winters, bad winters, a lot of places have to do that.
Where's the access to the building? Is it by the two loading docks, or is it on the
South,
east side?
by the two loading docks on the
That ramp
south
going
side
up there? Okay. So if people were in the park, go through the alley and make a right, you can get 3 cars in there. Right. Okay. But on the other side of the building is the loading dock that's not being used. There's no access there, is there, to get into the building?
No, that'd be loading docks for semis, so it's not access to the building itself.
Are you talking about the one that's not,
The one on the east
got
side.
the tree growing in front of it?
That's
Yeah.
on the back corner, yeah.
Okay, there's no access to the building to get inside.
There's a door there.
So if they parked, they'd have to walk all the way around, half a block actually, all the way down the alley, then down the other alley, and then to get in the building.
Could you give some input on the flow of traffic that would come and go from your facility? Like, will they use River Street, Wheeler Street, will they use the alley?
I would, it's okay if I...
Yeah, go ahead.
Watch your step forward.
This here's two loading docks for semis. There's a loading dock here, but it's not really for a semi because it has a brand going up to it. The entrance of the building is here, and out here. These two would be the ones to be used. So anybody comes in, going to come off River Street and pull into, what you got to see, I don't know, this is probably, across this is, 35 feet or something, and this goes right through. So all driving traffic is going to come in through these doors, so they'll be parking on this side. And this is the side that semis will never use. Semis going to use this side.
You say you won't be using the alley much?
The alley?
Yeah.
If it's a concern for, like if I'm working there, if it's a concern for me because of parking or because anybody's coming in, yet we may very well end up parking a vehicle back here, walk around and going into the building, right?
But I mean, like,
But not
your
the-
clientele.
Not the clientele, no.
Because the reason I push that, I used to live in that area on Wheeler Street, about 8 houses to the north and east. And that's busy. You know, everyone here
Yeah.
knows that Wheeler Street and River Street are not quiet residential
No,
streets.
they're not.
Right. Yeah.
And I drove through the alley this afternoon just to kind of look it over. And that egress to the east from that alley is a very hazardous egress. In other words, you have almost zero visibility till you get right out across the sidewalk. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that would be...
Yeah, and I think it's potential hazard for pedestrians, for residents.
Yeah.
Kids that could be riding their bicycles and...
That's something we wouldn't use. I wouldn't even care what's closed off, but no. The most we would use is alley cars if you parked in this spot on the building, or you had to pile snow into it and let it pile up, so you had to remove it. And there is, even like me going to work or something, you had to park here, there is an entrance door here that locks. You can go, you can enter the building this way and go into the building.
Oh,
Right from that spot.
people that work there would probably be aware of the hazard, you know, and be careful, but, you know, if it was a common use for clientele to egress out that alley.
Oh, yeah, well, they're not going to, because there's no entrance doors to it from there. The only entrance doors to this building, you know, as far as anybody coming in for that would be, is right in this area right here. There's 1, 2, 3 doors here.
So the UPS trucks and the other trucks that are leaving with parts, are they gonna be going where the semi would pull in?
Right, semi, yeah, UPS, but he's coming either way, I suppose, depending on parking or what. There's this roadway through, and, or I don't know, UPS, yeah, I don't know if UPS is right off River Street, or if we park back here at all, or even over here at all, like I said, it leaves it 3 to 4 spaces here to park in, or for UPS to pull in and out, or whatever it means.
Go ahead, Jerry.
Is there a need to have semi-tractor trailers coming into this site? I mean, I have real concerns about blocking a sidewalk
Yeah, well,
with a parked vehicle. The sidewalk is for the benefit of pedestrians. It's not for the benefit of putting a truck. No offense against the trailers. It's for walking. It's and basically what you're saying is that you're, not this gentleman, but by putting a trailer there, you're saying to the public, you use the street. You take your bicycle or you walk out into the street. And I don't think that's not something you should be doing.
we have to have semis in and out, and, you know, I don't hardly ever see a business around that don't sometimes block a little bit of traffic, back in the truck in, or while it's being unloaded, back in the truck in, blocking the sidewalk and everything else.
And I understand.
90% of businesses are going to do that.
But we don't need to, I understand. We don't need to exacerbate the situation. It's a public sidewalk. That's my concern.
Well, I know when Family Dollar, unloads, they don't block the sidewalk. Well,
Yeah, they do.
yeah, they do, because their conveyor belt goes across the sidewalk. So they block sidewalk, and they take up that whole lane, which makes it really
It's
congested
again,
when they're there.
I want to see I'd like to see this building being used, I really would. Essentially, this is kind of like an industrial operation, heavy commercial industrial operation, and you're, you know, and again, sort of that view, I realize that, but surrounded by homes, still a residential area.
Mr. Thornton, what kind of volume are you talking about? When you say, you know, car parts, you know, a couple of pallets off a semi-truck, UPS deliveries, drop-offs, pickups, that kind of thing. What's the volume? I mean, you can have that whole warehouse full of parts, or you're only going to use 10% of your square footage, or...
We're probably going to use about a quarter of it. I don't even know if we use quarter, at the most about a quarter of square footage there. Volume is, I don't know what you're asking about volume. You're asking for a dollar volume, or like when we take something out, we can be taking a van out that's got, you know, $10,000 worth of stuff, and it's going to 5, 6 different places.
Right, no, I wasn't asking for a dollar amount. I was just wondering about square footage on the interior of the building. You know, if you're, I can see this being a very large operation if you're using 50%, 75% of the square footage of the building is warehouse storage, which to me would indicate a larger volume of traffic in and out in deliveries. My other thought is, if you're only using 25%, is there another location you could do the same thing that would be more conducive for tractor trailer trucks, UPS deliveries, you know, wholesale, other than a residential area? I'm just looking at other things. You know, if you're using such a small percentage of that building, maybe it's not a very good spot for what you're doing. I don't know, you've probably done market research and all that other stuff and looked at other things, but...
Yeah, we use, by a quarter of the building, it's a 2-story, so we wouldn't use the upstairs probably at all, and about half of the lower. with the truck docks and the office and the way it's set up, and for the price I can get the building for it, it's, I mean, we looked at other places, we looked at truck, places, but there's some 3-4, or, there's some 8,000-10,000 square foot warehouses around load docks and stuff that, down the market for 300,000-400,000.
Yeah.
That's out of the question for what we're doing.
Can we go back to the amount of traffic that's going to be coming and going with the semis alone? You said about 3 of them a week?
A week with every tops.
And how long would they be parked there to unload?
Well, it's freight companies like Pound or somebody back in, take a forklift and set up 2, 3, or 4, or 5 pallets, whatever you got coming in, and they're gone. Sign paperwork and they're gone. So...
15, 20 minutes?
Yeah.
3 times a week? And there's no issue on the south side with the UPS trucks fitting into that parking space to load and
Here, no.
in that alleyway?
Lots of them there. And this semi here is kind of, wasn't supposed to be parked there to start with. It is, I think, like a 53-foot one. Most of our deliveries, you come in freight companies like Howe and stuff, and they tend to break up into smaller trailers in town anyway. It's not all going to stick out like that. Holland, when they go down the highway, expect they'll pull doubles or something, Then they break them up when they come in town, use shorter trailers. It's very rare you see a freight company delivering in town with a 53-foot trailer. I mean, it could happen, but
Well, and that's just the trailer without the cab on it too.
right.
So now you have a trailer in there taking up everything, and the cab is left in the street because there's no place for the cab to go.
Yeah, the standard 40-foot trailer and cab, you're still be off the street, but you would be blocking the sidewalk there.
Anybody got anything else?
Sidewalk for, 10, 15 minutes, but I don't know, I'm just asking for something new, but stuff done like that all the time. UPS stop there on the middle of Main Street and blocks traffic. Take someone into the store. Semis will stop right on Main Street. Take whole lane traffic and just sit there and unload something in the store. I know, it's something new, but freight delivery like that all the time.
Any other comments or questions?
I'd like to make a positive comment about the possibility of being a slowing down effect of the traffic. Because like I said, when I lived on Wheeler Street, it was scary sometimes the speed that traffic traveled down that street. And if they knew that they can visually see a truck there and it caused a little bit of slowing down. I don't know if that's the appropriate way to slow down traffic. Park a truck.
I got a bucket of rocks on my porch, that's all I'm going to slow down.
You might pull some strings with the city and see if you can get Wheeler Street repaved. It's a lot of potholes right at that loading dock.
Any other comments or concerns? Why don't we close this section? Go ahead, Jerry.
Yeah, just a couple of lines, and again, I don't want to be argumentative here. I'm concerned. In terms of most of the other locations, even, for example, the Save-A-Lot, those are commercially zoned areas, they're still impacting the street, I realize that, but they're not residential locations. That's an issue. 53-foot trailers are very common in the city, by the way. They're not uncommon, just plenty of information. And if there is a tractor hooked up to that trailer, it will be in the street.
Yeah.
I guarantee you. And I dispute the gentleman, 15 minutes, that's impossible. To back up a semi-tractor trailer, put it to the loading dock, unload and leave, 15 minutes, it won't happen. It just won't happen. It's not realistic to think that. And again, my biggest concern is, the staff's biggest concern is on one hand, I realize this is a commercial building, it's been there a long time, we'd love to see it used, but they're in the middle of a residential district. And this is not a residential type of use. It's not something that's even close to a residential neighborhood. So basically, you're interjecting kind of a semi-industrial use into a residential area. And again, I'll go back to the sidewalk situation. If you do decide to approve this, of course, it's totally up to you. I want you to recognize that you can't authorize the use of the public right-of-way for an operation like this. So I don't want the gentleman leaving thinking, well, I now have permission to use the public right-of-way, the street and the sidewalk, for maneuvering my vehicle, but he doesn't. Okay, and that's extremely important, very important. They'll be subject to any of the other codes that may come into effect, the police codes, for example. I'm not saying they won't let them do that, but you don't have the authority to allow use of the public right-of-way for an operation.
Jerry, that's a pretty big building. I mean, I'm 17 years in Cadillac. It's been vacant ever since I've lived here. What did they do prior with snow? And so it was office? And
primarily office.
Where did
since I've been here, it's been looked at, I think, twice, both times for residential, loft apartment type. The biggest issue, the big issue both times was the lack of parking, which obviously residential would take a lot more demand than what this gentleman wants to do. But yeah, it's unfortunate. Pre-existing building, it's historically has been vacant, it's not been maintained, and
were the houses built around it after the building was there?
I don't know. I would most likely. I don't know. So I don't want to guess.
It's a really peculiar setup.
And in terms of Mr. Shekel, in terms of maneuvering the slow traffic down, Joe, I respect you very much, but that's not something we want to do to try to slow traffic down. If there's a problem with traffic, then it's a police enforcement problem. But we don't want to inject a tractor in the middle of the street. And again, I'm not suggesting this gentleman wants to.
Appreciate that.
There are limits to this particular site and structure in terms of what you can do. And that's probably a big reason why it's been vacant for so long, is that there's significant limits. The building is non-conforming in a host of ways, but you're stuck with it. And so.
But I wonder if it would be possible to restrict your deliveries to box trucks instead of tractor trailers. I mean,
you think I should do tell the freight companies what we call it?
I don't know. I think it would be a lot more doable if you could have a 24-foot box truck back in there and unload it. That building 60-foot, rig.
Yeah,
Back in the
We got a certain amount of fact that has to
come this way,
some freight companies that can't be used for that, we continue looking, but we have to have somebody in and out, 2 to 3 a week.
Any more comments or concerns? Sir, is there anything else?
No.
Okay, why don't we close this part, then we can discuss amongst ourselves. Jerry, the fire code and the wiring, that all has to come up to code. That's not us to worry about.
Right, if this were approved, the use of the building would require compliance with the building codes, the electrical codes, fire codes, and so forth.
That's just a given. Okay.
Before, and in fact, if there is an existing operation in there right now, it would have to cease. Okay? If there's anything going on right now, it would have to cease. It shouldn't be, nothing should be happening right now. I understand that there is something of an operation in there,
A guy rented a space, but he hasn't used it, he parked the truck there, hasn't used
But I
it,
mean,
so it's not being used right now.
Okay, there couldn't be anything happening in there until the building was brought up to code.
Okay.
That's number one.
And if there became an issue down the road with a semi parked in the wrong spot, blocking the sidewalk or traffic, that would be something that the police would have to deal with and figure out at some point,
They have to at some point. Right.
if it became a problem.
You know, I forgot to,
For this use, he said he's using approximately a quarter of the building. Could he rent that out? I mean, are we approving him specifically with his business, or are we...
You're approving the use.
The use of the building, so...
You're approving the use, then the use runs with the land.
So
Not
then
with the owner.
it could be, the rest of the building could be used by warehousing, by...
Other businesses?
It's another business, or...
But if it were used for something other than this, other than warehousing or storage, it would have to come back.
But
But the entire, you're approving the entire building for the use of warehousing and storage.
which means there could be unlimited trucks in and out of that, given the business that goes in there.
Which, of course, you want businesses.
Right.
Well, even if he didn't grow, if he only rented part of the building and somebody else rented the rest of it, they could do the same thing, and then if it's been approved, then it's approved.
It's approved, right.
I think that's what you're getting at, isn't it, Dave?
Yes, yeah, I mean, if he's using a quarter of it, you could have 3 businesses his size.
All warehousing?
Yes,
Using warehousing business,
theoretically, yes,
without coming back to us.
without coming back.
I did forget one thing, sir. This concerned citizen I didn't ask him if he had anything for or against the
Better that he does not speak.
okay,
Better that he does not speak.
okay.
Has anybody ever tried to use the parking lot with some kind of agreement or purchase some of the parking lot across the street?
To my knowledge, no. In the past, we've suggested that to the 2 parties that came in, looking at it from a residential standpoint, but it was never pursued.
We didn't pursue it either, because we never felt the need for that much parking. I thought, that would be an option, but...
Well, you could always run trucks in there and a forklift across the street or something.
I was thinking if there's a ramp down there, they could unload there, but then they'd be in the middle of the street to unload there also.
Yeah, actually, if we got longer trucks that would have to extend in the street, they could be pulled in here, and they could be done, run forklift outside and just take them out of the truck and through the loading ramp. You would never have to have a truck that actually extends into the street.
There's 2 things wrong with that. You'd have to make sure your pallets are in the back where they could reach them. And secondly, there's no way you could guarantee they'd always be there. Sooner or later, someone's got back into that just normally, so.
I'm sorry. Second part I didn't hear. The first part, we had a warehouse in Sheboygan, and I have never had a semi-truck come in that didn't have a pallet jack in to bring the pallets to the back of the truck. Never, ever.
Wow. Must be a different business. I've been in industrial for 30 years, and I've never seen one with one in, so.
Okay, we're dealing with companies like Howell and stuff, General Freight companies that take 2, 3 pallets here, 2, 3 there, not whole semi-loads to one place. So they've always got pallet jacks. Places like Howell have always got pallet jacks. What was the second part of the question?
How would you guarantee, so to speak, that they always use that alleyway and not your loading dock and therefore block the right-of-way up there? I guess that would be a concern also.
I guess by the time the truck driver comes in with a truck, you're going to know what size truck he's got. They're delivering during business hours, you know what size truck he's got. Somebody's there to unload them.
And one other thing is, I don't know if you ever tried to drive a fork truck in snow, but I have, and it was quite expensive to get it out of the snowbank, so.
Oh yeah, you have to have a rubber tire forklift, I know that. Yeah, you take a forklift with hard tires, you don't want to take it outside.
If you're shipping from Holland, if they're shipping from Holland and other freight companies, there's no guarantee that they're gonna be there during business hours. Some trucks show up 3, 4 o'clock in the morning and sit there and idle until the business opens. So you've got that potential too.
Well, no, you're talking more about, like the factories and stuff that have semi-loaded something coming in. The freight companies have stuff coming into a terminal and are delivering that during business hours. That's entirely different than a factory that's got like a load of material coming in or a full load of material going out. We're having freight companies bringing in companies like Holland that are, it comes into a terminal, they load up, they might have 20 pallets in their truck and going to half a dozen different places. They're brought in by truck into a terminal and delivered during business hours. Factories are different, yeah, they're coming in day and night. That's a whole different situation. Different type of trucking, I guess.
Any other comments and concerns? Let's close this section, then we can discuss what we find. Sir, you go ahead and sit down if you'd like.
Thank you, Mr. Thornton.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess based on other things that we've reviewed here, this building just, the parking, the snow removal, the obstruction or whatever you want to call it with the vehicles out into the road. I'm not trying to be negative, I'm just trying to point out the facts that just by looking at that corner right there, just jump out at you. What do you guys think about this?
I wonder what the future would be if we don't approve it. It's going to continue to deteriorate. It's going to be a hazard in many ways. It would be better to have some use, even if there's some inconvenience for the residents, the general public. I just wonder what it's going to be if that building doesn't get used, what it's going to be 10 years from now, 20 years from now. Will someone purchase it and demolish it, put up a residential, building?
Question, when you put your fire suppression in, will you just suppress it over your area, or will you do the whole building?
Entire building.
Okay.
That's all code, right, Jerry?
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm concerned that if we approve this now, and the business goes, then we've got a bigger problem than what we're discussing right now.
Yeah, because we can't stop it once it's there.
As far as the parking and the coming and going? That's what I think Dave was alluding to. If more retail, or, if more warehouse space gets rented there to other individuals doing the same thing, if we give them, if we allow it, the use to be warehousing, then that's it. You could have 3 warehouses in there, you could have 10 warehouses in there, while doing 2 to 3 semis a week.
Because Mr. Thornton could sell this, right?
Yes.
And it could still be used as a
If he purchased
warehouse.
it, he could sell it, yes. Yeah.
For a warehouse.
The use runs with the land.
For an entirely different operation.
As long as it's a warehouse operation, and now if you were to establish some conditions, those conditions also run with the land. So any new owner would have to abide by those conditions, but it could be sold, yes.
What happens if the conditions aren't met, Jerry? Does it get revoked? What happens if the conditions aren't met? Does special use get revoked?
It can be. Typically, the process would be that there would be a public hearing, kind of a show cause hearing as to why the conditions aren't being met. then the permit could be revoked. Obviously, we don't like to do that, especially if somebody's investing a lot of money, into a facility, which brings building up to code, will take a fair amount of money. But that's typically the process. There's also the potential to fine, but again, historically, we don't like to fine. We like to try to work things out with people.
Is the building built in, is it a building that was all constructed at one time, or could sections of it be removed?
I don't know that. I don't know that much about the, the design, architect, engineering of the building and so forth. I've been in there, but it's been a long time ago. I guess, again, I won't belabor it, but the use, I think, it's based on this location, the use has some real potential issues in terms of, it's already been mentioned, the semi-tractor trailer and the fact that essentially you got to use the street for circulating. It's not a good policy, particularly in a location like this. If we were out in the industrial area, it might be a little different with more limited traffic. There's issues with snow storage. There's also issues, I believe, with the proximity of the homes. There's homeowners that live within 20 feet or less of this operation. And there are people that live there in what is a one-family residential district. And granted, I'm sure they don't like seeing a deteriorated building either, as Joe mentioned. But I guess I have some concern when you start interjecting what, particularly large trucks and so forth, in a residential area. There are some issues.
I guess
There are a lot better sites in the city. May cost more, I realize that, but there are a lot better sites for an operation of this type. And we have 3 industrial parks, for example, that are much more conducive to a warehousing operation where you're going to be bringing in semi-tractor trailers and where you want to go.
I guess personally, I like the thought of a piece of property like that being updated and fire suppressed and bringing up to code and probably some maintenance. I think it's good for that area, and I think it's good for the city. On the other hand, with that special use permit, it's the future that concerns me, what it could potentially develop into. And I don't think we have any guarantee over that if we go forward with it. I don't think we can guarantee what the future will bring. Where's your wisdom, Joe?
So,
You got anything to say?
one way and one the other.
Right.
Any more comments? Well, I guess, do I hear a motion? I guess, I'm trying to remember my Denny Benson days, when I used to make him do this every time because he wasn't here. Is there any conditions that we would, if we should pass this, that we'd want to put on the property? I mean, hours of operation, he said 7 to 7, but that would have to be, if somebody else came in there, it would have to be 7 to 7 also, correct?
That's correct. Basically, when you're establishing conditions for something like this, what you're trying to do is overcome those issues that we've talked about.
Snow removal.
Overcome the maneuvering on the public street. Overcome the potential for needing to remove the snow. Overcoming noise. Overcoming the potential for impact on the neighborhood and so forth. That's what conditions are, to essentially bring about compliance with the standards of the ordinance.
I just don't know what we can do to do that.
I find it hard to say that Family Dollar can park semis on the street and someone else can't. How about the Cadillac News
Cadillac News is another one.
That's my favorite.
Both those are in commercial, I'm not saying that they should, but I will say they're not in residential.
They are in commercial district, even though it's one block away.
Yeah.
They're operating within their zoning.
And I think you
I
have
don't
to
like
be
it either,
careful.
Joe.
When you look at, again, we want to be fair, I realize that, we want to be totally fair. But we don't like the fact that, let's say, the Cadillac News has to use Mitchell. We don't like the fact, that's not what the streets and the sidewalks are for. And because this is happening, doesn't mean we have to perpetuate
Right.
that particular issue or issues. I mean, our goal is to not perpetuate.
Those uses predate the ordinance,
They do, yes.
and so those were created long before zoning came into
Long
play.
before we were here.
And now we're dealing with something that we're going to allow under the ordinance that doesn't comply.
Well, I think I could give approval if there was only certain size trucks. And I think our, Mr. Thornton said that's not possible.
Again, I'm willing to entertain a motion.
In light of that, I'd make a motion, we deny the request because of the zoning infringements, the lack of parking, the lack of snow removal. I don't know if that's a reasonable one or not.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, roll call, please, sir.
Okay, a motion by Schichtel, supported by Van Lindsay, to deny the special use permit. Don't want to put words into your mouth. Essentially, due to the findings as presented in the staff report and the discussion that we've had tonight relative to the need to maneuver in the streets, the concerns regarding snow removal, and again, the other issues, I'll outline those that we talked about.
Yeah, the noise and things of that nature.
Okay. This is a motion to deny. Schichtel?
Yes.
Fenn?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Peterson?
Yes.
Van Lente?
Yes.
Champlin?
Yes.
Gregg?
Yes.
Motion's denied. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thornton.
Would you like to join us again, sir? Jerry, when was that building built?
You know, I don't know. It's been around a long, long time.
That's the original vocational center, wasn't it? Is it?
Oh, really?
They were in there for the first year of their existence, I think.
I was there when I was a kid. I mean, my grandfather just, he started it, so.
And it's a tough situation because, again, you'd like to use the building.
You guys discussed if you were expanded there and renting more people.
That's the problem.
You can't control.
That's the problem.
That was a big thing for me.
And you're right, and Mr. Adams, then you just brought up the newspaper, and okay, now you go perpetuating the problem that we already don't like. Well, location.
We have a motion to let this gentleman come back.
Oh, yeah.
The chairman should be reinstated in his position.
Do we get a roll call on that?
Yes.
I made a motion, Jerry, to reinstate him.
Smith, you supported?
I will.
Okay, Fent supported. Okay, motion by Smith, supported by Fent to have Chairman Putnam rejoin the group. Okay, Schichtel?
Yes.
Fent?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Peterson?
Yes.
Van Lente?
Yes.
Champlin?
Yes.
Gregg? Putnam?
Do I get a say this time?
And we'll let you.
Sure, yes. Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Gosh, that's sorry.
Thank you, everyone. Where are we? New business. A monument sign at Cadillac Erie Chamber of Commerce at 222 Lake Street, sport document 5A, and that said Mr. Adams was going to tell us more.
Yes, this is not a public hearing. Monument signs, at least right now, under the city's zoning ordinance, are called pole signs, and for whatever reason. But under the ordinance, pole signs in the B1 zone district in the Chamber of Commerce, which is right across the parking lot here, is zoned B1, and pole signs are prohibited except when approved by the Planning Commission as a decorative monument sign, which blends with the district. The Chamber of Commerce wants to put in a monument sign. What is a monument sign? Now think of a cemetery. Those are monument markers, but signs, okay? And again, the ordinance considers monument signs a form of a pole sign. That's going to ultimately change. Really, the approval standards are pretty subjective. The two are, and we just read them, one, that it has to be a decorative monument sign, and then secondly, it must blend with the district. And Jed, you're not going to probably be able to see this, but this is an exhibit that we got from the chamber. But you'll see some of this up here. Let's see, go to the next one. Okay, the chamber wants to place or put a monument sign on their site, and facing us would be Lake Street. The east-west street, one to the left there, is Pine Street. It's the City Hall chamber parking lot just to the east there. They had a flower bed right there, and they took it out. But that's basically, they want to put the sign more or less at the intersection of Pine and Lake Street at the corner of the building. I think I have another shot. Yeah, here's another one. You can see approximately where the sign's going to go. You set back a little bit out of the clear vision area, but that's where they want to put the sign.
Jerry, is that a monument sign right across the street there?
I was going to say that, wasn't it? There's one right there too.
And there's already a monument sign. If you look across the street, in fact, the orthodontics, they have a monument sign that is right across the street. Let me go back again. You can see it. And so this sign will be a little different in design, obviously, but in this particular area, there are several monument signs. This one happens to be, again, right across the street. So, and the chamber does need a sign. They don't have a sign, so people are always coming in city offices wanting to know where the chamber is. Again, according to the ordinance, it has to be a decorative monument sign. I do want to tell you one thing. I talked to Bill Tenza, and Bill couldn't be here tonight, president of the chamber. Otherwise, he would have been here. The glass blocks that you see on the sign, they may not use the glass blocks. It may just be solid. So I think that one's showing the glass blocks.
Yes, it is.
But they may just have the solid material without the glass blocks. But it will be a monument sign. Essentially, the design, as you can see from that board in particular, it's visually consistent with the office building. It has an office flavor to it. The more or less V-shaped for corner visibility, so whether you're traveling on Lake or Pine or coming in a number of directions, you'll be able to see it. Pedestrian height, so if you're walking the sidewalk, it's not a towering sign, it's a low-level sign. And again, it does exhibit a professional office-type character. In terms of blending with the district, the design, in terms of the type of sign, is consistent with nearby signs, such as the one right across the street. It's visually consistent with this office building, again, pedestrian height friendly, gives professional office character, and from a staff standpoint, it's not obtrusive. Basically, your action, very simply, is to approve based on a finding of compliance with Section 46664 of the city zoning ordinance, that is, that it's a decorative monument sign and that it blends with the area. Or you can deny it. Probably couldn't deny it on the fact that it's a monument sign, because it is. You may not feel it's decorative enough. or that it doesn't blend with the neighborhood. But basically, and I think that's the last slide, yeah. Really, that's what you're here to do tonight. I think the reason that this is coming before you, in the B1 zone district, there's also a fair amount of residential in this area and office, and the ordinance just didn't want to, or the framers of the ordinance didn't want to encourage these high pole signs, and said, you know, we won't have high pole signs. In fact, you can't have a pole sign, but we will allow a sign that tends to be more professional in appearance, more consistent with the office residential character of the district. City Hall, for example, has a monument sign. You probably haven't seen it. It's on Lake Street. It's kind of at a nondescript public entrance, but it's there. So, again, there's no public hearing on this. If you have any questions, I'll try to answer. And it decides within the limits of the ordinance. So it meets all ordinance standards in terms of size and setback and so forth.
They're going to have lighting?
Pardon?
Lighting?
They may light it. Again, they haven't decided yet. I think they probably will. Makes sense.
Have they given any general measurements?
My understanding is that it's going to be 48 square feet. And in terms of height, they're still toying with that. They're not sure yet if they're going to put a small base or not, but it's going to be out of the clear vision area, and it's going to be very similar to the sign right across the street in terms of height and so forth.
Now, the one across the street is close to 36 to 40 inches.
Yeah, this one, it'll be about the same. They pulled this one back because we told them it couldn't be in a clear vision area. So they pulled it back.
It's got to be like 25 feet?
Yeah, it's not going to be in a clear vision area.
Good idea.
I'll make a motion to approve it
Second.
on the compliance.
Now, Jerry, will they have to come back and say it's going to be X number high and wide?
No. They're going to comply with the ordinance, so.
Okay.
What does the
Who
ordinance?
supported that? Who supported it? Okay, I'm sorry, excuse me.
What does the ordinance give as far as dimensions on the sign that
It's
needs?
really, it's open. In the monument sign, in this particular district, it doesn't specify any dimensions. No dimensions whatsoever.
You said the height was something, though, it's clear.
As long as it's out of the, it doesn't, interestingly.
Oh, I thought you said it had to be pedestrian friendly.
Otherwise I would have brought them to you. It's out of a clear, as long as it's out of the clear vision area, doesn't impact sight visibility, it doesn't give any, it just says, subject to your approval.
That's kind of why I asked if they were going to come back with the sign that they're actually going to put out there and have to go back through us.
No, it'll just come to us.
I think if they build it according to the proportions that we're looking at, it'll be fine. But if they
That's what they plan to do.
set it up in a different situation,
We
then
won't let them. We won't let them.
Jerry, just to specify that clear vision is, if you're looking at the corner, it's 25 feet down this way, 25 feet, and then a diagonal, right?
Right.
And you have to be within that, and that...
Yeah, and again, interestingly, in the business district, the clear vision standard isn't as strict in some locations. If you think about it, you take, for example, the corner of, we'll say Pine and Mitchell. The buildings are right at.
Yeah.
Now, those are signalized intersections, and so, traffic is controlled in that way. But in the business district, we still, in a location like this, we still use the clear vision setback. Should be a nice site.
Yeah, I liked it with the glass, so it really looks nice.
Especially if they light it.
According to Mr. Kennedy, they're not sure they're going to do the glass.
It matches the building, that's why I like it so much.
Okay, Smith?
Yes.
Peterson?
yes.
Van Lindsay?
Yes.
Shinto?
Yes.
Gregg?
Yes.
Finn?
Yes.
Cantlin?
Yes.
Cuthbert?
Yes. Have we ever voted on anything where we've had like Dissension? Dissension? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. The halfway house on the bottom of Cobb Street.
Mitchell and...
Right next to Ponderosa. That went on forever.
Should have been here for the apartments over there by me, behind G&D, or not G&D, C&D.
Okay, tonight,
C&E?
everyone will
C&E, yeah.
stand the...
We've got one more item first.
Yes. Oh, yeah,
5B.
where I'm at, 5B. I was gonna say,
This is old business, isn't it? Forgive me. I'll leave it up anyways. Let me explain, Michigan...
Who's running this meeting?
Sorry about that. Michigan Municipal League, in concert with Michigan State University, they have a grant program that focuses on downtowns, and they will let you take a block, you might say, more or less a block. And we've taken the block that's bounded by Mitchell, Harris, Cass, and Lake Street, where the city park is located, parking lot, Mitchell Street businesses, and then businesses along those side streets. And they will come in, that particular block is more or less, and the reason we took it is core to the downtown. We had to select a block. So that one, because we were doing this project and some other things, let's take that block. If we get this particular grant, the grant through the Michigan Municipal League, they will send a team, basically it's a team of students, who will come in along with their professors from the School of Architecture and Planning and so forth, and they'll do a very comprehensive physical design plan for that block, or that area, I should say, that essentially provides some guidance as to their feelings on how the area should develop, what we should be doing, what sort of physical improvements we should be making, and so forth. And so we thought, well, we just found out about this, let's go for it. City Council approved it, said, yeah, okay, fine, go for the grant. One of the things the grant requirements or the grant instructions want us to do is to get some letters of support from different agencies and organizations. So I thought, well, why not get the Planning Commission to support it? I don't have any graphics or any drawing tonight, but essentially it's to support the seeking of a grant application that would allow us to do a physical design plan for the core downtown area of that block, more or less bounded by, again, Mitchell, Harris, Lake, and Cass, and both sides of the block in that general area. It's doing a physical design plan, much like we're going to see here for the Rotary Performing Arts Pavilion. So we're just looking for support.
what's the amount of the grant, or?
We don't know. It's really not a designated amount. It's technical assistance. It has a dollar value to it, but all they're saying is, we call it a grant, it's a technical assistance grant. And they've narrowed it down. We've already been narrowed down. There were 35 applicants. I think it's been narrowed down to 8. And we're one of the 8. And they're going to select from the 8, as I recall.
And these are all northern Michigan communities?
No, communities throughout the state. Yeah, we're competing with Grand Rapids and Detroit. Well, I'm not sure about Detroit, no. Detroit seems good. Lansing and Traverse City and Mackinac, all kinds of communities.
Well, I think if it's something good for us,
Yeah, it's,
a grant.
I would say go for it.
Yeah.
Make a motion.
I would say, in terms of a motion, if you want to just, maybe by a show of hands, or those in support say aye, those against, and that would be fine. I don't need a roll call.
Okay. Those in
It's a good idea.
in support. Okay. So
Everybody unanimous.
All right. Yes.
In looking at that sketch, I see a comment that is proposed spectator location gate, or
Not on that yet.
oh, we're not?
Not yet.
I thought they were interconnected.
I had the
Coming
same,
up, coming.
that's what they're- yeah, I had the same question, Bob.
Coming.
The same area.
Coming up.
Coming up. Okay.
Sorry about that.
Are we good on the grant?
We're good.
Good grant.
Thank
okay.
you.
All right.
John said.
Now, where Mr. Adams wanted to go, we're on old business. With the Rotary Performing Arts Pavilion Master Plan Public Information Meeting that we are full of people, but Mr. Adams will take it from here.
Very good. Just show them. Okay, you'll see this in a second, but we have had a volunteer citizens committee working on the development of a master plan for the Rotary Performing Arts Pavilion site. And I thought, well, let's give the public an opportunity. I did put a notice in the newspaper, had the notices on our website, put notices out there. Somebody here tonight, but I've got you folks, so that's fine. And I did want to bring it up to the Planning Commission anyway, so let me just go through this quickly, and you can love your questions, comments, or suggestions. What is the master plan that we're trying to do here? Well, it's a guide. It will be a guide to the physical improvement, the updating, I should say, of the Rotary Performing Arts Pavilion and the Pavilion site. The site's been around for a number of years. I'm not exactly sure how many, but it needs some upgrading, some improvement, and that's what this project is all about. We did receive some seed money from the Cadillac Area Rotaries Club to do the plan, and so that those funds are being used. And really what prompted this is we had a number of people come to us over the last year saying, you know, there's some real needs here that need to be addressed. And these are just a few of those needs, and I'll go over those quickly. These are not all of them, but one is the poor seating arrangement and seating quality. I don't know if you realize it, but those seats were put in before the pavilion was put in. They were put in to have people sit and look at the sunset over Lake Cadillac, then the pavilion. So the seating doesn't necessarily meet the needs of the pavilion. Conflicting pedestrian circulation. You could have a performance going on, and then people will walk in front of the performance, getting from one location to another. Probably fishermen are some of the worst. I won't pick on kids. Fishermen. They've been fishing up and down, and they'll go through it. If there are some performances, there aren't any changing rooms as part of the actual pavilion, so that's been identified as a need. The sound system needs to be improved. There was some that said, you know, we should make greater use of the pavilion and the site. What are some other things we can do? Poor linkage to the city park, particularly as you try to cross the street. We realize we're not going to change the railroad. But those are just a few of the items. So ultimately, a volunteer citizens committee got together in coordination with city staff. And if any of you are interested, we're still not done, so you can volunteer. Using the seed money from the Rotary Club, this committee has been working with the DK Design Group, the architectural firm here in town, Dean DeKreiger, and he's been assisting the committee with the physical design plan. And public input is important to this committee, and we'll be doing some additional public input there will be additional public input opportunities in the future. We're going to look at the preliminary draft plan tonight. It has been completed, but again, it's not even a draft. It's a preliminary draft, still being worked out. We're seeking public input. Again, we're going to meet again in the near future to finalize that draft plan. And in fact, the Cadillac Area Rotary Club, they've already gone ahead and awarded us $120,000 to start on the improvements. Now, the improvements that we're looking at so far probably are going to cost somewhere in the neighborhood of $300,000 to $500,000. So we're going to end up doing this in phases. But I commend the Rotary Club. And I've got a blow-up of the plan in a second, but what are some of the things that are being looked at? New tiered seating. I think this one shows one. They're looking at now two tiers of seating, somewhat elevated. So you got a lower one and a higher one in the back. Part of the problem is you start messing around with grades, and there's some issues. You don't have a lot of area to deal with between the railroad track and the lake. Maybe do a one-level stage or have a bigger one-level stage area. Some changing rooms, some pedestrian pathway changes. In terms of those pedestrian pathways, I don't think I put it on here, or maybe I did the next one, some gate, I'll wait. A cantilevered walkway on the west side of the pavilion that would actually go around the pavilion over the lake. That's being looked at. I'm not sure if that's going to happen. Some Lake Street crossing improvements, crosswalk improvements, some sound improvements, maybe the addition of some video with the possibility of having, in the summertime, some evening movies. The big problem there, of course, is it doesn't get dark until 10:30, and so the concern there is, well, you're going to create all kinds of noise for people that live around there. Well, it's still being looked at. Pathway gates, what's that? Looking at the possibility of at least on some of the pathways that go through, when a performance is going on, close the gates that would allow people to walk right in front of the pathway, but still allow circulation, but on the outer limits. Looking at what's called a rain or a sun cover, I don't know if that's going to happen, but actually the possibility of a cover to assist during inclement weather or when it's a lot of sunshine. Additional landscaping and signage. Those are just some of the changes. Again, we're looking for comments, ideas, suggestions regarding the improvements. And there's kind of a blow-up. Again, I can get up over here and just real quickly, over here. Here's the existing pavilion, maybe adding on to those wings for some changing rooms. I don't know how well you guys can all see this, sorry about that. A walkway that would possibly go on the west side around, again, 2 levels of seating now in through here. Some circulation improvements, a proposed sound booth, improving the sound, maybe doing some video, some new landscaping, and maybe some sculptures. So those basically are some of the things we're looking at. And if you folks have any ideas, thoughts, I know the committee would love to hear them.
So the basic design and structure stay the same on?
Yes, it will. Yeah, we're not going to tear the structure down.
Good.
It's going to basically stay the same.
Just add to it.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. We don't want to destroy what people like.
Yeah.
I've always thought it'd be nice to do away with South Lake Street right there.
And I would too.
I'm dead serious, and then it makes it all...
It's being looked at by the DDA right now.
Yeah, I know the traffic is...
segments the park. It cuts it right in half.
It cuts it right in half. It'd be so much nicer for...
Well, you know, it's like a three-way stop now. You may or may not like the three-way stop at Cass and Lake, but it's working.
It's good.
That came about, well, it's probably been a year ago. We had a traffic engineer look at that in terms of what could we do to help slow down traffic, knowing that the After 26 Cafe, the restaurant, was going to come into being, knowing that we're going to do things here, a lot of things happening, and so he suggested a three-way stop. And, you know, it seems like most people don't like change, but a lot of people don't like change, but it seems to be working okay.
I like it.
People are getting used to it. It hasn't created traffic backups like some people thought it was going to. It did take a little while for people to get used to. Yeah. I mean, I saw people go flying through the stuff. Not anymore. Well, I shouldn't say that. But in terms of closing Lake Street, it's actually being looked at. The big issue there is there's so much traffic movement north to south, south to north, and you know, going to the high school, going to the industries, going back home and so forth. Other than Mitchell Street, there's really not a secondary route, but again, there may be a possibility. I won't get into it tonight, I'll show you sometime, but there's some thought being given to that section of Lake Street. So, anyways, you know, anytime if you have any comments, we'd like them. Again, this is going to come up again, but I just wanted to let you know what's going on.
Once they determine a master plan and all that, will it be broken down into phases?
It'll be broken into phases.
We'll do seating first, or block side, block pedestrian.
And it'll probably be, it'll be based on how much money they have. We actually filed a grant application. I doubt we're going to get it, but it's $75,000 to go with $120,000. So we actually did come up with some possible per phase elements like the seating and so forth. But the goal of the committee is to ultimately break it down into into 2 or 3 phases, depending on what the cost turns out to be. Okay, well, it's somebody present it.
I think it's a great idea.
Do you have any comments?
We need to do some stuff.
All right.
So, because it does get used a lot, and you're right,
does.
there's a lot of big inconveniences, especially for people that do perform and stuff.
I really like coming from the parking lot there, the loading and unloading drive.
Yeah.
That's really nice.
Yeah, that would be, because a bunch of them really work at getting their stuff there.
Well, I've played there a couple of times, and it's a real pain to drag all your equipment down there.
There's no action needed in this area. It's just an informational purpose.
And good information it is. Table items none. Any board member comments this evening?
Jerry, we looked at a play space over here by the bathrooms near the boat ramp about a year ago. Whatever became of that?
It's going to be installed next spring.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be installed. We were thinking about doing it this fall, it just got too late, so they're going to do it next spring.
It's all set to go.
Money's here, and
What was that?
here's the,
You know where the swing sets are right here on the lake?
Yeah.
They're making a bigger play space. Were they going to fence that in, Jerry, or something?
yes, they have to fence it in. In fact, that's one of the issues, is what kind of fencing. They want to do something that works with the lake and the park. Don't want to just have chain link, cyclone, what do you want to call it, fencing. So they're looking at some decorative type fencing and working with Mike Henberg and some others to see what might be available at reasonable cost. They've got some pretty good ideas. It will be, and the reason it's going to be fenced is it's going to have a fair amount of play equipment for little kids. And the concern is, you can't always do it. And so they want to, because of the proximity to Chestnut, they felt, we better put some fencing the barrier to kind of keep the kids in there. Done in the springtime.
Forgot. Any other board comments?
If you guys are into disc golf, there's a really, really, really nice new course that just went in south of Manton on 18.5 road. It's a private one. It costs $3 to play. It's on 18.5 road between...
18.5, the Dome House, where that Dome House is?
Just past the Dome House.
That's 18.25, the Dome House.
Yeah, it's just past it,
Okay.
heading north. And it's between 131 and the new highway, right at the end of the road. It's nice this area doesn't have anything like that to offer. You gotta go down south or way up north to get what that course offers, so.
How's the Big and So one? Still okay?
Yeah.
9, 18, or what?
18. Now, there's a proposed 18-hole course, another one, so there would be 2 18, and then they'll have camping and that kind of stuff there as well, so nice little gem for the area.
Anything else from the board?
Turn your phones on.
Don't forget to vote next week.
Don't forget to vote.
Already did that.
Okay.
Thank you for co-chairing there, Mr. Fencer.
Thank you, sir, for the opportunity.
Any public comments, and they've all left, and if nobody cares, we're good. We're out.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.